Mathematics, mathematics, I love math, I love math. It is so exciting, very interesting. I love math, I love math. Do you miss that song? Welcome to another day of math time, fun time. For today, we are going to discuss a new lesson. But before that, let us first recall what we had last week. We had absolute value. And do you still remember what an absolute value is? Okay, that's right. The absolute value is the number's distance from 0 on the number line. And remember that when we solve absolute value, all our answers are positive, right? Because there is no negative distance. For today, we will still be dealing with absolute value, but now we will compare absolute value. If you find the previous lesson an easy one, then this one will be easy for you as well. Carmen is taking a one-day scuba diving class. Completion of the class will let her explore the ocean at elevations that are less than negative 25 feet. Use absolute value to determine the depths that Carmen will be able to dive after taking the class. First, let us graph the elevation that is negative 25 feet in our number line. So negative 25 feet is between negative 20 and negative 30. So that is halfway between them. So there is negative 25. Next, let us list down 3 elevations that are less than negative 25. So elevations less than negative 25 can be found below it. So we can choose negative 30, negative 35, and negative 40. Then let us graph it in our number line. We have negative 30, negative 35, and here is negative 40. Elevations that are less than negative 25 feet can be found below negative 25. Since we are talking about the distance that she can dive, that means that is the absolute value of negative 25. And the absolute value of negative 25 is 25. That means the absolute value of negative 25 represents a depth of 25 feet. So writing the elevation as depth. So if the elevation is at negative 30, that means its depth is 30. If the elevation is negative 35, then its depth is 35. And if the elevation is negative 40, then its depth is 40. So it's the same way as looking for its absolute value. Because absolute value of negative 30 is 30, absolute value of negative 35 is 35, and absolute value of negative 40 is 40. So an elevation of less than negative 25 feet is a depth greater than 25 feet. That means Carmen will be diving more than 25 feet after taking the class. Let us have another problem. Cole has an online account for buying video games. His account balance has always been greater than negative $16. Use absolute value to describe Cole's account balance as a debt. First, let us graph negative 16 in our number line. So negative 16 is here. And then list 3 account balances that are greater than negative 16. So suppose we have negative 12, negative 8, and negative 4. So what have you noticed with those account balances that are greater than negative 16? Okay, they are to the right of negative 16. Now let us express an account balance of negative $16 as a debt. So in this situation, the absolute value of negative $16 represents a debt of $16. Let us have this table. Balances greater than negative $16 are negative $15, negative $14, and negative $13. So negative $15 as a debt is $15. Negative $14 as a debt is $14. And negative $13 as a debt is $13. So let us have more examples. On Monday, Ali's bank account balance was negative $24. On Tuesday, her account balance was less than it was on Monday. Use absolute value to describe Ali's balance on Tuesday as a debt. So in this situation, the absolute value of negative $24 represents a debt of $24. So that means on Tuesday, Ali had a debt of more than $24. Number 2. Matthew scored negative 36 points in his turn at a video game. In Genevieve's turn, she scored fewer points than Matthew. Use absolute value to describe Genevieve's score as a loss. So, what do you think Genevieve's score? Okay, Genevieve scores or lost more than 36 points. Since Genevieve lost to Matthew, that means her score should be lower than negative 36. So, it means the loss should be more than 36. Now, let us compare these numbers using greater than, less than, or equal to symbols. So, you are going to answer numbers 4 to 9, and then check your answers later. Here are the answers. Negative 8 is less than the absolute value of negative 8, since the absolute value of negative 8 is 8. Next, 13 is equal to the absolute value of negative 13 because the absolute value of negative 13 is 13. Number 6, the absolute value of negative 23 is less than the absolute value of negative 24 because the absolute value of negative 23 is 23 and the absolute value of negative 24 is 24. Number 7, 15 is greater than the absolute value of negative 14 since the absolute value of negative 14 is 14. Number 8, 34 is less than the absolute value of negative 36 because the absolute value of negative 36 is 36. And number 9, negative 5 is less than the absolute value of negative 6 since the absolute value of negative 6 is 6. For your homework, do page 175, numbers 2 to 8. Do you all understand today's lesson? Is everything clear? Oh, that's good to hear. Can we now sing our final song? Do you still remember that? Okay, sing with me, everybody. We learned a lot today. We learned a lot today. We are all happy now. We learned a lot today.